Domo arigato, geek to me radio, da 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 da. Domo arigato, geek to me radio, da 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 da.
Welcome, geeks and nerds, girls and boys, to a bonus episode of Geek to Me Radio. This time, we'll be joined by Cliff and Shila from the Kidz Bop Tour, talking about how you can get tickets here in St. Louis. We'll have Matt Paxton talking about Filthy Fortunes, and we'll wrap it up with an incredible Kickstarter. Frost Road, Keith Arem, and Chris Yates join us. All that and more, stand by.
We're talking TV, comics and movies, and video games. And if you don't know Star Trek from Star Wars, we'll try to explain. There are 12 doctors from Hogwarts houses, one ring rules them all. To be the greatest Pokemon master, you must catch them all. You must catch them all. Try to catch them all. Gotta catch them all. Gotta catch them all.
And if you're driving around the greater St. Louis area tonight, listening to us on the Big 550 KTRS, hello to all of you. If you are streaming us online, hello to all of you there. And of course, if you're hearing us in the podcast version, we appreciate you finding us and subscribing there. Every so often, I get so backed up on content that we have to put out a bonus episode because there's so much content. It's feast or famine sometimes, but we've got a lot of great content. And I want to get this out because I'm starting to back up on stuff, and I need to make sure some of this stuff, it's timely, that it gets to you so that you know about it, so that you can either get your tickets to the event, back the project, or check it out on its streaming platform of choice. To that end, I had a chance to speak with Cliff and Shila from the Kidz Bop Tour. They're coming through St. Louis, the Hollywood Casino Amphitheater, on August the 16th. Tickets are coming up very soon. You can grab those. Here is my interview with Cliff and Shila. Right now we're talking with Cliff and Shila from the Kidz Bop Tour, coming to St. Louis Hollywood Casino and Amphitheater on August the 16th. Thank you both for your time today.
Thank you for having us.
Of course. I'm curious, such young performers, what was the audition process like for this project?
Usually it gets sent out, I would say, through your agent, whoever you're represented by. And it's really up to you if you want to take the audition or not. And you take an audition, and then you get a call back, and then you get it or you don't get it.
Any nerves? Do either of you get nerves when you're out on auditions, or is it just at this point you're kind of used to performing and it's old hat to you?
Yeah, definitely nerves are always there when it comes to any audition, but it's really about pushing through and wanting it.
And Shila, I know you are a musical fan. Evidently you can recite the entire Hamilton musical. Is this something that you've always just had that kind of a memory for, where you lock lyrics in and can do that, or does Hamilton resonate with you specifically?
I love Hamilton, and I think that learning lyrics is really a fun process for me.
I'm just curious with the performing that you both do with these concerts, like the tour that's coming here to St. Louis. Do you have any creative input, or is everything mapped out? Do you guys say, well, with my voice, I kind of want to go up here a little bit more, or I want to modulate this portion of the song, or is everything kind of locked in and there's not a whole lot of creativity on your end?
So yeah, not so much creativity. Obviously, we put in our inputs, but most of it is always choreographed. Every show, we have set choreography that we do in different cities. So
it does change a little bit city by city?
Most of it's choreographed, but sometimes you have like freestyle parts in there where you could do moves you want to do and stuff of your choice, kind of. So yeah.
Gotcha. With all the cities you do on this tour, do you guys get to go out and explore a little bit? Do you guys get a little bit of flavor of each city, or is this pretty much a locked, we're doing these cities tour and there's not a lot of time for sightseeing or anything like that?
Sometimes we have days off, so we get to explore each city, get to eat their type of food, and it's just a really fun experience. Sometimes after shows, we get dinner around the area, and we get to see some Kidz Bop bands, and it's really fun.
With you're coming here to St. Louis, I'm just going to recommend the toasted ravioli, and for dessert, try to find some gooey butter cakes. Those are kind of two of the things we're known for here.
if you're taking recommendations. I know, Shila, you said if you could have any superpower, it'd be teleportation, if I'm not mistaken. Cliff, same question to you. If you had a superpower, what would you want it to be?
So I've always been a big Flash fan, so I'm gonna have to say I just want to run fast. That's what I want to do.
Super speed. That now begs the question: what do you think of the Flash movie with Michael Keaton and Ezra Miller?
Oh, I think it was great. I think I've always been a big fan of the Flash show that was on Netflix, the CW show.
Yeah.
And then watching that movie too, a different take on the Flash, it was a great movie.
Shila, with teleportation being your choice, do you have a favorite superhero? Would it be Nightcrawler from the X-Men since he's a teleporter as well, or are superheroes kind of not your thing?
I actually like Superman. I think Superman has always been the original superhero for me, and I always watched the movies growing up.
So how excited are you for the new James Gunn movie coming out in July then?
I'm excited. I'll definitely go see it.
Yeah, and it'll be on tour, so we can all go see it together.
Yeah.
It'll be a good time.
There you go. Fantastic. With the songs that you're all singing on this tour, what do you do any instrument playing as well, or are you both mostly singers and performers?
So I've been learning recently. I've never played instruments before, but learning recently to play the guitar. So I'm hoping to play more out there so people can hear it soon, but we'll see.
Shila, any instruments?
I play piano as a hobby, and I really like playing piano.
With this tour being so performance heavy, what's the hardest part that someone might not think about for each one of you? Is it learning songs? Is it the dancing? Is it just the grind of the tour? What is kind of the hardest part for both of you about doing this tour and the stops? As fun as it is, I'm sure it's a blast, but obviously you don't always see the backside of things. What's some of the harder aspects for the two of you?
I would probably say not seeing my friends, because it's just I'm usually with them every single day, and then I just suddenly leave. So I miss them sometimes, but, I could always call them and text them.
And Cliff?
For me,
yeah.
I would say on the amount of stamina it takes to do shows like that, but it's so worth it. It is so worth it at the end.
And with this tour, again, we mentioned St. Louis Hollywood Casino and Amphitheater on August the 16th. You can get your tickets on sale. It's kidzbop.com. My final question before I let you go, if you could meet any singer, living or dead, any singer, and have lunch with that person, who would that person be? We'll start with Shila.
I would say Billie Eilish. She's my inspiration. She's my favorite artist ever. And I would absolutely love to do that.
Lunch with Billie Eilish. There we go. Cliff?
So, newer artist, maybe hot take, you don't know it's coming, but Benson Boone. I'm a huge Benson Boone fan. I look up to how great of a performer he is, and I would love to meet him one day.
There we go. Again, this tour is coming through a city near you. Check your local listings. If you're listening to this and you're outside the St. Louis area, go to the website. We'll have a link in the show notes, and you can get your tickets online. Cliff and Shila, thank you so much for your time today. Have a great rest of your day, and break legs on your tour.
Thank you.
You as well.
Thank you. Take care.
There they go. You can make sure you grab those tickets coming through the St. Louis Hollywood Casino Amphitheater August 16th. Cliff and Shila with Kidz Bops. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to come right back. We'll have our talk with Matt Paxton talking filthy fortunes. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio on the Big 550 KTRS. Please stand by.
Hey, this is Mark Pellegrino, Lucifer from Supernatural, and you are listening to Geek to Me Radio.
Welcome back to the show. Geek to Me Radio, heard every Sunday night on the Big 550. 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. You want to stream us, go to youtube.com/geek2me radio and hit the subscribe button there. Click the bell so you get notified every time we go live with video. You can check us out in studio with some of our guests. We've got some great guests lined up for August, and we're getting very busy with Two Rivers Comic Con. This is my con. This is something I've kind of dreamed of doing for a long time now. and my business partner Paul said, "Hey, let's get this going. Let's make this happen." So the number 2 riverscomiccon.com. Check out the website. You can get tickets now. They're available and they're going fast. So get them quickly because we are going to put a limited number on these so that we don't overwhelm the venues. But we are going to have the voice cast of the Justice League, which means we've got Susan Eisenberg, Wonder Woman, Maria Canals-Barrera, Hawk Girl, Phil Lamar, the Green Lantern, John Stewart, and of course, very proud to have Carl Lumley, the Martian Manhunter, will be joining us as well. He's a newest addition to that group that we just added a few weeks ago. Dan Reba and Alan Burnett, if you're a fan of Warner Brothers animation, they did so much with the Warner Brothers animation between Batman Beyond, Batman The New Adventures, the original Batman the Animated Series, plus Ben 10, plus stuff like Ozzy and Drix, Justice League action. So you can meet them. They're going to be with the Heroic Fine Art booth where you can get some really cool stuff for your man cave or wall, some animated art cells and things like that. Dan will be doing sketches. Alan will be signing your stuff. And then that's not even talking about the comic book creators. We've got Roy Thomas, Stan Lee's hand-picked heir to become editor-in-chief when Stan Lee stepped down. He's wrote Conan. He's the reason Star Wars was first brought on by Marvel Comics, creator of a lot of characters, including Vision, Wolverine, Power Man, so many more, co-creator, I should say. And then, of course, we've got Mark Bagley, my personal favorite Spider-Man artist. We've got Chuck Patton, Keith Williams, Rick Burchett, 3-time Eisner Award-winning artist Rick Burchett. Local St. Louis guy is going to be there as well. We've got David Michelini, a fantastic writer, worked on Iron Man, Spider-Man, and so much more. If you're a comic book fan, if you're a fan of voice animation, if you're a fan of just having fun, get your tickets now. The number 2 riverscomiccon.com. Tickets are available now. They'll have some special events coming up soon, extra ticketed events. So make sure you're paying attention to the website. Go to facebook.com/2riverscomiccon. Look us up there and make sure you give our page a like. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram as well at 2 Rivers Comic Con. A lot of fun happening in historic St. Charles at the Foundry Art Center and at the Steel Shop Memorial Day weekend. Coming up quick, May 23rd through the 25th. Check it out, 2riverscomiccon.com. We had the chance to sit down and talk with Matt Paxton about Filthy Fortunes. This was something, you don't think about these kind of things, and then you get to talk to someone like Matt Paxton who does this for a living, and it was a very fascinating interview. Here's my conversation with Matt Paxton.
Right now, we're joined by expert declutterer. I guess that's a word I've just made up. Matt Paxton, brand new series Filthy Fortunes, premiered as of March the 9th on Discovery. Matt, thanks for your time today.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, I'm wondering, the very first question that popped in my mind when I saw this and saw the stuff you do and the things you've done on Hoarders is, did you go to school for decluttering, and what degree does that actually have the title of?
That would be a degree of being broke as a kid, right? And I did go to college. I was an economist, believe it or not. I went to I worked for the Federal Reserve, and I hated it, man.
Oh, I can imagine.
When I was 24. It was awful. And when I was 24, my dad and my stepdad, both my grandfathers, passed away, and I had to clean out their houses. And I immediately fell in love with it, man, the stories, right? I cleaned out my grandma's house with my grandma, finding out about how they homesteaded in Colorado and, the day they drove there and how they built the house with their hands, and they would go into the woods and cut the tree. Stuff you don't realize as a kid that your grandparents did, and then you find out, your grandma worked in a factory during the war. It was I was a kid. This is 26 years ago, but it was amazing. And my grandfather had always said to me, "Do the work nobody else wants to do, and you'll always have a job."
Yeah.
And man, it stuck. And I've been doing it for 26 years, and I absolutely love it. Just love it.
And that's with 15 seasons as an extreme cleaner on Hoarders. You've actually got a book, Keep the Memories, Lose the Stuff, which I find a lot of people, that's kind of a generational thing. Am I wrong in that assessment that, obviously, my mom, I wouldn't call her a hoarder. Mom, if you're listening, hi. But there's a lot of stuff that she keeps needlessly, and we always tell her, we're going to be the ones who have to go through this after you pass away. Is it a generational thing? Are younger generations not keeping as much, or is it secular?
Yeah, so each generation is keeping less, absolutely. And but I'm cleaning out the greatest generation and the boomers right now, because you and I, Gen X, that's what we're inheriting. And so what I am currently cleaning for the next 10 years is the 3 generations that saved the most stuff. And it's all going into one house. And so that's why these houses are full, because I'm not just cleaning one generation. I'm actually cleaning 3 generations.
Yeah.
And it starts with the Depression and World War II all the way to Amazon, right? There's a lot of stuff in there, man. And we're finding, what that means is on day 1, we're pulling the Amazon boxes out. We're pulling out plastic. But by day 3, I'm getting into, I'm finding, I found a Sandy Koufax card this season.
Wow.
A rookie card. We found a Mickey Mantle rookie card. We found in that same house, we actually found a John Wilkes Booth playbill that was signed by John Wilkes Booth at the Ford Theater.
Man.
And that was in a shoebox in a closet in a guy's house. So no one had seen it in 50 years. No one knew it was even there.
And obviously then things like that go for big money. So my question is, do you also, the people you work with, do they own a thing where we can help you facilitate selling this? What kind of stuff, when they go to find that they've got these things in their attic or their basement or their house, how do they go about finding out how much it's worth and getting that money?
Yeah, so we're lucky. I mean, I've been doing this forever, so I have contacts all over the country, right? And so we use different online auction houses. We'll have private buyers. We do whatever we can to do it. But if you're at home, you're doing it yourself, the best thing you can do is go online. Go on EBTH. It's called EBTH.com. We go on eBay, go on OfferUp, go on Whatnot, all these apps, and research what they've sold for. And this is the key here, what they've sold for, not what they're listed for. If you see that it's listed on eBay for a number, that is fake news, dude. That ain't real, right? That's just what somebody wants to sell it for. You got to see what it's sold for, because something's only worth what a third party will pay you for it.
And that's a great point, too, because as a comic book collector, I'm going to say collector, not hoarder, because at least they're boxed and they're in good shape. That's one of the things I always tell people. They're like, oh, I saw this comic go for $15,000 on eBay. No, it's listed for that. If you look at the sold, it sold for $500. So when you come across, I'm assuming the stuff you come across is usually these rare finds. It's not like you're going into someone's house and, oh, my grandfather had this comic book collection and they've got all these issues of Captain America punching Hitler in the face. It's usually stuff like the one-off, the rookie card for Sandy Koufax, the John Wilkes Booth playbill. That's more the exception than the rule, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we do don't get me wrong, we come across insane collections. But the best collections are usually already known about. And what we really get excited about is the things that nobody knew about, right? Yeah. So it is more one-offs, like you say. But, let's talk about the comic books really quick. There's still a great market for them. They're still very valuable. But that is a saturated market, right? They have been collected, and people know where they are. And unless you're finding, very rare pieces, which doesn't normally happen. We're just going to sell those to a collector like you guys as a bulk and let you guys take it, right?
Right.
Because I got to clean this house out in 4 days, right? So I'm looking for experts in every field. But I find a Rolex every week, and a nice vintage Rolex does pretty well,
And you're also the founder of a company called Clutter Cleaner, which specializes in this. Is that just, again, one of those things you were told if you see a need, do the job nobody else wants? I'm assuming that's something that is needed all over the country.
Yeah, I mean, it's a franchise business I started, and I mean, we're selling franchises all over the U.S. helping families because we get so many calls. And, we're very lucky to show what we do on TV. The business is amazing. I mean, look, we get to help people. It's awesome. And then we make money doing it. I mean, it's really, really cool. But at the end of it, I mean, I tell everybody, I get a hug and I get a check, right? And I mean, there's not a lot of jobs that you get that every week. I mean, every Friday I get a hug and I get a check. It's pretty cool. And then the geek side of me gets to find really cool things,
Right.
And I will say the market has changed, right? 10 years ago, it was all Star Wars.
Right.
Star Wars and Barbie.
Yeah.
And this year, we sold more money in Pokemon than we did Star Wars.
Really?
Which was shocking to me. And I found more counterfeit Pokemon than I knew existed. I mean, it was shocking. And so I've got to have experts that can figure everything out from, that can literally handle everything from Star Wars all the way to Pokemon.
And with the rise of these kind of shows like obviously Filthy Fortunes, but also Hoarders, we mentioned, American Pickers, Storage Wars. What is it about us as a society that has this fascination with going through things? Is it about that Indiana Jones moment of, wow, I've just unearthed this rare piece? Or is it more of just like, wow, don't ever let me get to that status where I keep that much stuff? What is it about our zeitgeist that has this fascination with these types of shows?
Well, we all watched Goonies, right?
Yeah.
And we want to find the treasure. And I mean, I don't want to dumb it down, but like the real psychological part of that is, look, now is really tough. Like, we're in a tough world right now. Like, that's the reality. It doesn't matter which side you're on. It's challenging. And we are really living the past and we're living the future. And that's because the past and the future are much better than now. And so I think you see a lot of these shows being really successful because it makes us remember the 80s, man. It makes us remember the 70s and even the 90s. And that's fun. That's a lot easier than getting yelled at by your neighbor right now. And so I think we really it's hitting us at the right time, right? And then all of us, man, an extra $100 in your house, like, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Right. And I think what I love about my show is it answers the question, the what if. Like, well, what if my Beanie Babies are worth a lot of money? Let me assure you, they're not. But what if something else is, right? And we're very careful. We don't want to like make you think you should hoard more because it might be worth it. It's not. We clean out the house on every episode. We clean it out fully. I mean, it is empty when we're done. But we do find enough money in the house to pay for the clean out and make the family a little bit of money.
And I know I've just got about another minute with you left, Matt. I want to ask my final question. If you had to give 3 people, you've written this book, Keep the Memories, Lose the Stuff. If you had to give people 3 bullet points, here's the 3 takeaways about the best way to let stuff go, what would those 3 bullet points be?
Tell the stories, tell the stories, tell the stories. If you tell the stories, people will want your stuff. It's valuable. If they don't, then there's your answer. Tell the stories will also help you separate the important items from the junk. Share your stories. The rest of it works out.
There you go. Matt Paxton, I appreciate your time. Filthy Fortunes premiered March 9th. Catch it every time you see Discovery Channel. You pull that up, and it's there 10 p.m. Eastern. Matt Paxton, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Be well.
Fascinating job to have. And if you liked what you heard there, again, 10 o'clock Eastern, you can check it out on Discovery Channel. Premiere was March the 9th, so you can check them there. We're going to take another quick commercial break. We're going to come right back, and we'll have my interview with Chris Yates and Keith Arem talking about Frost Road. This is a fantastic Kickstarter you're going to want to check out. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio. Please stand by.
Hi, everybody. This is Maria Canals-Barrera. I voice Talk Girl on the Justice League, and you're listening to Geek to Me Radio.
Welcome back to the show. I'm James Enstall, your host. I always forget to say my name. I always say this is Geek to Me Radio, the Big 550. I never introduce myself. In case you're interested, James Enstall, host of the show, also host of the Justice League Revisited podcast. Susan Eisenberg is my co-host on that as we go back and we re-watch Justice League, the animated series, and we have guests on like Maria Canals-Barrera, who will be joining us at Two Rivers Comic-Con, like Phil Lamar, Dan Reba, Stan Berkowitz, dynamic music partners, and so many more. If you're a fan of Justice League, the animated series, check out that podcast, Justice League Revisited, wherever you get your podcasts from. We'll make sure that we tell you about Bugs Comics and Games. Bugs Comics and Games is our official comic book sponsor on the show. It's where I go for all my comic books, and if you're in the greater St. Louis, St. Charles area, you should be going there too. A ton of back issues, new issues, toys, games, cards, bags, boards, action figures, models, whatever you might be into, chances are Larry's got it in the shop. He's on Bryan Road in O'Fallon, Missouri, right there, easily accessible from Highway 364 or from Highway 70. Go check them out. The brick and mortar comic book stores, I love going in there. I love going in unique stores. When I travel, wherever I go, I always kind of carve out a little bit of time and I'll Google comic book shops near me because I like going in and seeing the aesthetic, the new stuff they've got. What do they carry? Do they have back issues? Do they have ones that I have not seen in my area? So if you are anywhere in that vicinity where you're like me and you're like, boy, I like going in and exploring new comic book stores, and you haven't been to Bugs yet, you are in for a huge treat. Tables and tables of back issues. He's got really nice higher end comics in the display case. He's got comics up along the wall, and there's the dollar bin books. I love digging through dollar bin books because you never know what you're going to find. Plenty of stuff there to scratch that comic book itch. And if you are local and you are wanting to collect, join the Avengers Club. That way you start saving money on your weekly pulls. You can put a pull list down like, hey, I want to make sure I don't miss Incredible Hulk, Ultimate Spider-Man, and I want to get the new Green Lantern comic. Those will be waiting for you in your cubbyhole every single week. He's got a little cubbyhole thing. He puts all the comics in. He's got your name on it. You don't miss an issue if it sells out, like Spider-Boy has done in the past, or like Amazing Spider-Man has done, and Batman is selling it. Now they have the new Hush storyline going. So start your pull list. Join the Avengers Club. You never have to miss a comic book, and you save money for your collecting purposes. Check him out on Instagram, Bugs Comics and Games. Bugs Comics and Games on Facebook as well. Give the page a like there. Let Larry be your new local comic book store. Bugs Comics and Games, very proud to have them as the official comic book sponsor here on Geek to Me Radio. Speaking of comic books, this upcoming Kickstarter is one I immediately backed. These guys are great. They've got a huge, talented team behind Frost Road. We're going to talk now with Chris Yates and Keith Arem. By Chris Yates and Keith Arem, talking about a Kickstarter, which you're going to want to check out, Frost Road. We're going to dig into the project. We'll talk a little bit about PCB Entertainment as well. Gentlemen, thanks for your time today.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you. This is a pleasure.
Of course. I love this. I looked over all the materials and I saw the Kickstarter, and the very first thing that struck me was the art. It evoked images of Bill Sienkiewicz. I just love the style it's done in. Talk a little bit about, let's backtrack a little bit. Talk about the genesis of the idea for Frost Road, where it came from and how it kind of grew to what we're going to see here on the Kickstarter.
Yeah, absolutely. Frost Road is one of our scripts that's part of the PCB sort of catalog of things that we've been developing over the years. Most people know us for our work in video games and music and film. But as we've been developing our own original properties, Frost Road was developed as a film screenplay that we were storyboarding. And Christopher Shai, who's our artist that we worked with on Dead Speed and Ascend, which was most notably our biggest property that we did with Image Comics, we came together and took the screenplay idea and what we were doing with the Frost Road storyboards and painted it, and we finished it during COVID. And here we are coming out and doing our first real Kickstarter as PCB.
It's fascinating. I've talked to so many creators lately and how stuff that had started just pre-COVID or during COVID has kind of changed in what the form is going to take since obviously the world upended itself. Was the project that we're getting now, was this kind of the overall goal from the start, or did it morph quite a bit? And might we see, if this Kickstarter takes off, is there more to come from this particular idea?
Yeah, I'll let Chris kick in on to maybe some of the future goals and some of the stretch goals that we have got planned out for this. But the story really did take shape. It was the concept really takes place. The whole story takes place in a very short time frame. It's a one-day event, but it's a big tragic event that becomes kind of a global apocalypse. And so as a screenplay and as a book, it's nice because it's all contained, even though the book itself is like 250 pages, but it lends itself to so many different sort of threads and backstories and future sequels and other things. But we really did see this as a movie and as a graphic novel. I think the graphic novel did come as our love and our passion for doing books, even though it was a screenplay. But it reads and plays very, very well as this like survival horror apocalyptic kind of graphic novel. And Christopher's artwork does really, really well. But that being the case and being the maniacs that we are in terms of always bringing in actors and music and other things, we kind of envision stretch goals and other things, and our partnerships that we're doing right now have really taken shape. And as the Kickstarter has been going, it's starting to evolve into a much bigger thing. And maybe Chris, maybe you can jump in and maybe talk about kind of other things that we're doing.
Yeah, so as we said, we're expanding into new areas, and one of them is potentially a audio drama. If we're able to get to, so our funding's $20,000, and if we're able to go in above and beyond and go to 40, we are going to be officially partnering with James and Chelsea from Dead Meat. We are partnered with them, but to make it come to life, we have to hit our stretch goal, and we're going to be expanding into an audio drama in the world of Frost Road, and bringing them in and their horror community, and just really trying to find new and fun ways to explore this IP because. Again, this is brand new. This is Keith and Christopher and Brandon's idea, and just how do you completely offer offer an experience that is completely new? You know what I mean? As a comic is wonderful, and we all love comics and graphic novels, but it's kind of a singular experience so that you can, it's the book itself and you can go at your own pace. But with these new audio dramas that we're going to be expanding into with James and Chelsea, we're going to, explore new ways, new worlds or new settings. And it's very exciting.
As a person, obviously, who does radio, I really like the idea of audio dramas. It's kind of that throwback to when you think of, the people, the Foley artists in the 1940s doing radio plays like we got with The Shadow and the early Superman. And it's kind of found a resurgence, obviously, with Big Finish Productions doing all the Doctor Who items and everything like that. Even our friends doing the Mortalverse, a DC type of thing. What do you think? Is it just that... is it the shift towards more podcasts that kind of has brought audio dramas back, do you think? And then it's making that such a viable thing that more people want to do? The two of you, either one of you would like to speak to why we're seeing that rise again.
Before COVID, I think there was a big rise in podcasts, and you were starting to see that really, really increase. And we had been moving pretty aggressively into the audio drama space, mainly because of our work in video games. When you think about all the stuff that we already do with working with voice actors and developing performance capture techniques for doing motion capture. And we have a process we have here at the studios called vocap, where we bring all the actors together. And instead of just doing a cast record, we have these great headsets that we developed with Jim Cameron's team from Avatar. And so we have these really high-end recording systems that we do all of our big AAA video games. And it's perfect for doing audio drama work because now the actors can move and talk and hold props. And it really sounds like a film set as opposed to a recording studio. And it's a neat kind of ability for us to kind of dive into our video game sort of heritage and then bring that out. So we were already, I think, going down that path. And then a lot of people weren't really driving and listening to podcasts as much during COVID. So you saw a little bit of a slump, but all of us really loved what we were doing. And now as people are coming back out and getting in their cars again and driving and listening for longer extended periods of time, there's been a huge sort of explosion of audio dramas and podcasts and other things that's there. And so I think that's why we were really ready to do this. And we were already doing a really neat thing with James and Chelsea with Dead Meat on a whole anthology series. And we did our first prototype earlier in the year, and it came out really, really well. We were bringing in big actors and a lot of great sound design and all the facilities we have here. So I think they were really inspired by that, and we were. And then seeing all the traction we've had behind Frost Road, we're like, well, you know what? We've got Chris Alex, we've got Ed Ross, and we've got Yuri Lowenthal already as sort of our photo reference models for our main characters. So Christopher had some really great reference photography. So when he was painting all the characters, we could keep the characters kind of on model, but they're phenomenal actors. And it was kind of funny to think that we have these great actors who are just kind of lending their likeness as opposed to their acting abilities for this script. So with the audio drama, I think we get to kind of bring that to life, and that's kind of exciting for us.
Talk a little bit about, because I know we've kind of had tangentially brushed on it, but PCB Entertainment as a company, it's not just this Kickstarter. There's a lot of multifacets to what it all is you do. And you mentioned a couple little areas, but to go back a little bit and tell people who aren't familiar how PCB Entertainment got started and what kind of things you guys are working in, different projects besides just this Kickstarter.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll let Chris jump in here a little bit and talk, because I tend to talk way too much, but I'll give you a little of the history and then I'll let Chris kind of jump in. PCB kind of formed around what I was doing in the music industry. I had started with Contagion and Biohazard on Capitol Records. So I started as a recording artist, and I was touring and doing industrial music, and I got into film scoring. But the whole time we were doing our North American tours and on tour buses, we were playing video games. And I always loved video games, grew up with video games, and everyone was saying, hey, your stuff is perfect for video games. And so I kind of transitioned at the beginning of my career in music into doing music and sound for video games. And that was work at Virgin and Electronic Arts, and working on everything from games like Earthworm Jim and Mech Warrior and those types of early games, all the way through when I went and started my own company as PCB, Tony Hawk, and doing stuff for Ridge Racer and now it's been coming full circle, playing games like Street Fighter when I was a kid. Now I'm directing Street Fighter, working on 11 of the Call of Duty games, Spider-Man. So like it was just such a great kind of introduction from working in music, and then not only getting into developing and working in video games, but directing all the talent and performances. So over the past 20 years, most people have known us through our work in performance capture for all these big AAA video games. And while the industry right now is in the middle of an interactive strike, and there's obviously a lot of concern about AI and other things, I was introduced to Chris earlier this year, and we really hit it off. Chris is also a fantastic writer and creator, and was working with one of the publishers that we were working with on another book I was doing. And so we decided to kind of join forces and have him join PCB as our director of special projects. And that's sort of how the Frost Road stuff came together. So Chris, I'll kind of hand that to you so I don't dominate everything.
No, of course. I mean, and that was like the history. You need to know where you were to kind of go forward, and where we're going forward with PCB Productions and Entertainment is like, Keith, as he said, has this kind of a huge resume that he's worked on and things like that, but he also has an embarrassment of riches that haven't been able to see the light of day. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to, start from the ground floor and really go to Kickstarter and find community and find people that love sci-fi, love horror, love all of the kind of fun genre pop stuff that we can, potentially offer through Keith's work. And so this is hopefully the first of many. We're hoping to fund, because the cool thing about this Kickstarter is that it's actually done. Like, the book is completely done. We're basically raising funds for printing and fulfillment costs, and we're aiming to have it completely shipped out in people's hands by San Diego Comic-Con August, so July and August of this year. And so it's a quick turnaround. We really want to just, start thinking of fans and giving them experiences. Like I kind of said with the audio, is like, everyone's kind of doing as much as they can, and that's wonderful and it's great, but can we do more? Can we give it a quicker turnaround? Can we give them a higher quality coffee table size book? Is there all those things that we can just maybe have gotten lost along the way because of just life and work, but what can PCB do? And so that's what we're trying to do. And as we said, there's more to come. There's another one coming down in October if we're lucky, fingers crossed, and maybe something else extra special in the horror community. So we'll see.
I've talked to veteran creators who have done Kickstarters, because a lot of obviously people now, especially with just the way the industry's changed, they want that creator owned. They want to have that ownership of it and be able to have full creative control that wasn't available to artists and writers in the 80s and 90s going forward. So it's been a great tool. But a lot of people have said it's a lot of work. With a Kickstarter like this one for Frost Road, what were some of the biggest things? Obviously, having it already done is a huge hurdle in and of itself. But what were some of the biggest challenges? Was it finding those sweet spots of these are going to be the things that people will want to pay the money for? Is it worrying about the stretch goals? Is it just the initial setup? What's been kind of the biggest challenges for the Frost Road Kickstarter thus far?
I think for us in that regard is like we said, the book was already done. And so we couldn't really expand the book per se, like in terms of like adding more pages or things like, because what Keith wrote and Christopher drew or painted was the narrative was done. And so we were trying to think of unique ways to offer people experiences or learning opportunities, because Keith and his team have this wealth of knowledge in video games, comic books, movies, and also shipping and tariffs. Like, that's a huge thing where you can't even guarantee it's going to affect. I mean, the Canadian tariffs just went in effect 2 days ago for aluminum and steel. So it's like, how do we try and control that narrative ourselves? And it's like, okay, like, if people are going to buy these big, beautiful books, like, what if we can give them a featurette, a Q&A, a masterclass? What if there's a portfolio review? Or what if there's like one-on-one kind of mentorship or counseling in terms of their artistry? And so we're trying to kind of collectively bring everything we've learned, because for me specifically, I used to work at Disney. I used to work at United Talent Agency. My specialty was in IP and genre, and how does that get adapted? So maybe it's me helping someone figure out, like, hey, think of this with your characters, because this can then lead to different story opportunities, or maybe don't make it blood and guts because you can then make it to TV, or kind of just all those things of being able to have a conversation with people. So then they can control their destiny in terms of their IP, and then really try and, make the most of it, because life's hard and this is hard, it's work. We all know that. So this is us trying to just make it a little bit easier if we can. And the people who want to invest in us, we would hopefully like to invest back in them.
And Keith, was there anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I think that it's interesting. It's a great time for creators right now because there's been this surge of viewership and video game players and podcast listeners, and there's so much content out there. But because we've been in quarantine and dealing with things for so long, that a lot of us kind of chewed through everything on Netflix and everything that was on streaming and every game that was there. And the numbers went up. And I think that encouraged a lot of people to want more content. But at the same time, you had all these strikes, you have this threat of AI, you have this changing dynamic. And the biggest problem for creators are the gatekeepers and the distribution systems that's always been there. It's really hard for comic creators to participate because the way that publishing has traditionally worked is you go through aggregators and you go through distributors, and the markup and the way that books are solicited is not very conducive for artists to have participation in their own books, at least from a financial standpoint, to really be sustainable. And that's aside from the creative side, right? The creative contributions or the ownership of the intellectual property. So the idea that, your book could get made into a movie or a television show or a video game. So I think a lot of creators have been a little sort of disenfranchised and a little bit kind of put off by the fact that they work so hard and then can't make a living doing at it. And it's a lot of work for really not much participation. So the fact that there's so much demand for content, everyone has seen everything that's out there and they're looking for new and fresh voices. I kind of feel it's an amazing time for creators like us to sort of have our voices being heard because we're not tied up in a studio. We're not sort of under one of these older sort of environments. Now it's a whole new world for us. And the idea that Kickstarter, we can directly connect with our fans and our audience. And like Chris was saying, we can also give back, right? Like we even have stretch goals that we haven't announced yet where depending on how successful we are with this one and other campaigns, a lot of our stretch goals are actually investing in other creators and giving back to the community because it's such a phenomenal time right now for the fans, not just through social media or like opportunities right now where they can kind of hear and talk to us and sort of communicate directly through us and not through other channels. But as a Kickstarter, we really actually get the feedback from our fans. They have contributions into the project itself, and it guides us as creators to sort of not necessarily cater or change our creative direction based on the audience, but it allows us to take their feedback and really see what works and what doesn't work and really helps improve us as storytellers. And that's what I think the biggest challenge and also the kind of the best part about what's going on is it kind of gives us a lot of freedom to start creating things and communicate directly with our audience.
And there's a lot of people out there who like to invest in Kickstarters. If you're listening to this right now, I think the range was anywhere from $20 up to $3,000, depending on what you're wanting to do as far as what tier you're wanting to come in, which gives you a lot of leeway across the spectrum. No matter, how little you want to get involved. You just want to get a digital copy all the way up to some of the really cool things like executive producer credits and a bunch of the tiers below it as well, which I'm one of those people I go through. I'm like, oh, that's a good tier. Ooh, that one's even better. And you just kind of keep looking, and pretty soon I'm selling a kidney. But with the structure of these, it's so interesting. I'm curious, and not that I'm asking what people are making, but with the people who come on, like you mentioned, Christopher Schei, Brandon Humphreys, with Trevor on this project, is everyone in-house on PCB, or are they kind of contracted out? If other people were like, hey, I want to get attached to that, could they reach out? How does the people, the creatives, get attached to the project? Is it in-house, or do you go out of bounds sometimes?
And we're going to get the answer to that question right after this brief commercial break. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio on the Big 550 KTRS. Please stand by.
Hey, hi, listeners. This is Greg Berger.
Meet Grimlock, Dinobot leader from Transformers.
And guess what? You're listening to Geek to Me Radio.
Transformers, for your needs
Welcome back to the show, Geek to Me Radio. I'm your host, James Enstall, again, because I didn't say it enough. I want to make sure we tell you about our premier sponsor. Without these fine people, we would not have been on the air and I cannot believe, as I look at the calendar, that we are coming up on our 9-year anniversary in August of this year. That's just incredible to me, mind-boggling. But here we are nonetheless, and it wouldn't be possible without the support of the Greater St. Charles Convention and Visitors Bureau, of course, the City of St. Charles, the website that I'm going to send you to, discoverstcharles.com. There's a lot to look at. They've got a really nice website, really well done, really well maintained, all the stuff that's up there. They're very cognizant of putting new events up as they occur, letting you know what to do. They feature a lot of the local businesses. If you're from out of town and you've heard me talk about it and you haven't been to the website yet, as soon as you're done with this episode, or if you're listening to us on your browser, open another browser window, go to discoverstcharles.com and look at the website. Check it out. See all the things there are to do in this charming little town right here, just 20 minutes west of St. Louis. 20 minutes west of St. Louis, right down Highway 70. It's just absolutely incredible. There's always something fun going on, new adventure around every corner. They should shoot movies here because it's just this gorgeous cobblestone Victorian era. When Christmas Traditions comes, if you've been to Christmas Traditions, you know what I'm talking about because it is atmospheric. It is a character unto itself. The cobblestone streets, the old buildings that have been preserved thanks to the Historic Maine Preservation Society and all the cool stuff. There's these stores that are small shops. You're not going to find a mass produced, like you're not going to have a, some kind of a large, there's not a Famous and Bar. There's not a Walgreens down on the corner of South Main Street or North Main Street. These are all shops like First Capital Trading Inc., like the Cozy Shop, like Sugar and Slice, like just all these restaurants like Magpies and the Millstream restaurant, these fantastic places where you're going to get some great food. You're going to go up and down the street, find some great gifts to give people, or maybe something nice for yourself. You've earned it. Go ahead. It's just a lot of fun to visit, and you're steeped in the atmosphere. Some of the food on North Main, too, North and South Main, there's kind of a split. Not that they're warring or anything. It's not a Sharks and Jets situation. But some of the food on North Main, they've got this really, really great Peruvian restaurant. And then you'll go right next door to Novellas, where you can get some their breakfast. I always go there, and I always get breakfast because they serve it any time of day. And they've got a really nice eggs with the home-style potatoes, sausage patties. And they've got 18 different flavors of mimosa. I'm kind of kidding, kind of not. So whatever you're looking to do, whatever kind of time it is of the year, if you're just looking to go out and grab a coffee someplace, or if you're wanting to have a nice meal out, or if you just want to go browse, take the dog for a walk up and down the cobblestone streets, it's really nice. The businesses always put out bowls of water along the way, so if your pup's thirsty, they can stop and take a quick break. The bookshops, they've got a used bookshop and a new bookshop right there within a couple blocks of each other. It's just fantastic. If you haven't had a chance to go out there and explore it yet, and you hear me talking about it all the time, what are you waiting for? Go out and check it out, especially if you're in the area. Cross the bridge, go over and have some fun. But wherever you are, if you're on the East Coast, West Coast, if you're down south, if you're up north, if you're right here in Alton, in Sappington, in Shrewsbury, in Webster Groves, wherever you are, check out the website first, discoverstcharles.com. That's discoverstcharles.com. As we always say, it's an historically good time. Talking with the team of Chris Yates and Keith Arem about Frost Road, the Kickstarter. If you're hearing this right now, they're in their final 48 hours, and they've got just a little bit of their goal left. So please go over and check it out. I backed it. I know a lot of people. I just posted on social media about it a couple days ago, and not that I'm a big they backed it because he said so. But after I posted it, they're coming down to the wire, and it just popped up another $2,000. I was so happy to see it. They're so close. Go and support it. But listen to the rest of this interview, check it out, and we'll tell you more reasons why you want to support this. Before we took that break, we asked them how some of these creatives get attached to a project like Frost Road.
Our community of creators is sort of a collective community. We're all contractors. We all work for everybody that's there. Under the PCB umbrella, we have this great collective family. And if you look, we've been working with the same people for decades. And so with Trevor, for example, he's done boards for my first film. He worked on this one. He's worked on 5 other projects for me, and just have a great working relationship together. And while he's worked on X-Men and Watchmen and other things for the big studios, He's a phenomenal collaborator when we work together because as a director and your team, you sort of have a shorthand with all the creative teams that work with you. And Christopher and I, we've done 5 books together. We're doing 2 new ones right now. We're coming up on the 20th anniversary of Ascend, which is amazing. And so we've got some surprises on that. And it's neat to see these artists also evolve as creatives because, you look at their work when we first started years ago and where they're at now, and we've all evolved. Myself as a writer and as a storyteller and as a producer and a director, and Brandon Humphreys, who I co-created the story with. We did like 3 stories together. We did Infex and Dead Speed. And so these were some early stories that we were developing together as story ideas. And then I would go off and write and produce and do these other projects. And we're still working together. We still do video games together. And so we have this really interesting collective. And although we have our own staff and an amazing staff here at PCB doing our production services work, a lot of the creatives that I collaborate with, even though they're independent, we kind of feel like we're all one big family. And that's what's been a great experience because we just kind of learn and grow with each other. And over the decades, there's consistency of the work and the improvement that we see in the product.
And I guess that's one thing why a project like this, like Frost Road, comes together so smoothly is you do have a bit of a shorthand if you've worked with someone that often and that long where you really kind of know what the other person's strengths are. You pull those out and add that to the project. So I guess that's another reason why this looks so dang good.
It really does. What I love about this in particular is that Christopher, from an art standpoint, he has this amazing layered, textured, painterly style that he does. And in certain things he's done these like sort of very dreamlike kind of esoteric paintings where they have depth and layers, and other things he does are super photorealistic and everything in between. And this has this really unique blend where, we had these photo references with like Yuri and Chris and Ed and other actors. And then we also went on locations and we kind of location scouted a lot of places that we wanted to be sort of sets. And I was already in pre-production on doing a film and getting that together. And then Trevor was going out and boarding things. So we had this really very focused look of what we wanted this to be. And I'd worked on games like Resident Evil and Silent Hill and The Suffering. So I had a video game background in terms of sort of the aesthetic and the idea of what we wanted to come with from the story and the interactivity of the characters in the world, so to speak. And at the same time, we wanted it to have texture and depth, and there's snow and ash and soot and all these things that just add to this weight of it. So we have this, the town is a character, the element of sound is a character in this story. And it's really just a very layered project, which is great. Plus it's a psychological horror. So the characters don't trust each other. So you have these really deep conversations that go back, and the characters their character arcs are very fulfilling too. So that was a really great experience, I think, for all of us, because we all got to play in our own mediums that we're very comfortable in. And I think that really pays off because it doesn't look like a first-time book. It really does look like something that has years of development behind it.
Yeah, and I will say Silent Hill, I think, is the very first video game I ever played where I slept with the lights on that night after I played it. It was very atmospheric in and of itself. With all that you've done, you both mentioned your backgrounds and how you got started and all these different fields you're in. I'm curious, we talk about superheroes on this show all the time. So I'm curious about the origin story. When did a little Chris and a little Keith decide this is what I want to do growing up? Was there that light bulb moment where you were like, oh, I can do this and make a living at it? We'll start with Chris on this one.
Yeah, I think for me, it was toys. I'm a 90s kid. And so I grew up playing with the Ninja Turtle toys and the Batman stuff, and then realizing that it's a movie. And then you realize, oh, it's actually a comic book. And so I think that was kind of the seed. And then I was actually doing track and field. I was actually a track and field coach before all this. And then a life moment, as you said, that kind of moment of like, why am I going with the safety net job when I should be doing the real thing, the one I'm super passionate about? And so I think it was very much just realizing that I loved comics and comic book movies. And so once I went to UTA and I went to Disney, I quickly realized, no, I love comics. And yes, this is all part of it, the video games and the movies, but my true passion is the graphic novel, comic book medium, because for me, it's my mythology. Like, I know, like, some people think Superman is, a religious symbol or things like that. And Batman and Spider-Man goes on and on and on. But for me, it's definitely started young. then now just being able to play, as Keith says, and to play in these mediums and just to try to tell stories and hopefully connect with people at the end of the day. So I think that's what it is for me.
And Keith?
I think my problem is I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I just think that like I love so many things. And to be honest, if our lifespan was longer, I would be a doctor, I would be a lawyer, I would be a professor, I would do so many other things. I just love learning and changing and growing. I started, as I said earlier, I started in music, but the thing that really, I think, tipped me in the direction of nerd geek fandom the way I went was that I was a Star Wars kid. I love Star Wars. I love science fiction. My dad was a big sci-fi reader, and I was reading Dune and all these really early things when I was a kid. And I loved the idea of horror, and movies like The Shining and other things were coming out when I was a kid. But there was this film that was coming out that looked like a sci-fi film. It looked really cool, but it looked a little scary. And it was kind of a new director. It was this thing called Alien. And I was like 10 years old, and I convinced my parents to like say, hey, I'm a big kid. I can go see this thing. And even today, I'm not emotionally equipped for that film. It was just so intense, and it really rattled me to my core, and so much so that I had the photographic novel of Alien as a kid, and it's on my bookshelf in my other studio, and it literally was a comic book of the movie, but they used the 35 millimeter prints instead of the hand-drawn stuff. I have the comic book version as well, but this was every single frame of the film as a comic book laid out. And the problem is that, here you've got a 10-year-old kid with this R-rated film that was directed by a director with a film that still holds up today. And, you've got scenes with Yaphet Kotto having his head split open by this alien. And, in the movie, it's 3 frames of film. It's just boom, boom, boom. And it's just a quick flash cut. But in the graphic novel, it is 3 frames of that. And so as a 10-year-old, I think I would sort of like really get into the stories and the idea that, you could have a comic book progress the story and allow you to progress it at your own pace by turning the page and getting into that. And then obviously the visual aesthetic of something like that was so powerful. And even though I was reading comics and graphic novels, and then it was like Arkham Asylum and other things later as they, you have these amazing painted, gorgeous books and heavy metal and other things. So I think I just kind of fell down that rabbit hole. And then as a creative, I just wanted to bring everything together that I loved between music and film and graphic novels and video games. And so that's why here I am today, just doing all of it. And fortunately, we've been successful in each of the different mediums, and it's just storytelling, right? It doesn't matter what the final medium is, whether we call it film or an album or a television show, it's still good stories. And I think the quest to being the storyteller is the thing that we all, in our, world want to achieve and be better at. So I'm still on that journey.
If there's someone out there who, you look at these future projects, I'm sure you guys are already planning 6 or 7 projects ahead and looking at all the stuff you guys want to do. You mentioned some of the great people you work with, like Yuri, like Chris, like Ed. Is there someone who's on your list, be like, boy, it'd be great if we could do this? We've even got a project in mind for him. Who is that actor or person or musician who you'd love to bring onto the team if you could just have one get out of jail free wish, this person's going to say yes regardless? Who would that be for each of you?
You can't actually say it because it might happen.
That's true.
No, I, in full honesty, like I'm not even trying to be cagey or like cutesy about it. There's a band. I'll say that there's a band, and there is the lead singer who I'm just been a fan. I've known him since he was at Warped Tour, and now he's become this huge kind of rock band. And secretly, I never told Keith until it came up. It was like, oh, I would love to have him because his fan base and everything like that would really kind of fit the horror theme and just the metal and all that stuff, because metal and horror kind of go hand in hand. And then it kind of just came up, and I was just like, oh my god, don't say anything, like don't give it away, don't give it away. And then our partnership with Dead Meat and things like that, so then it just became like, okay, like let's take a swing. So I won't say anything more than that, so I'll leave it at that, but fingers crossed.
All right.
You be careful what you wish for, because it definitely in this business it does come true, and you realize that we're actually very closely connected. People don't realize that the video game community, the film community, the comic book community, they're actually very small communities, and we all do know each other to some extent, and it's a few degrees away from each other in some capacity, and not just meeting each other at conventions and that kind of stuff, but we're actually all tied through creative ties. And I think especially with the strikes and the economy and politics and COVID, we've all gotten a lot closer. I've had meetings that I never thought I would have. Like, even though I've been working for 30 years in the industry and been fans of certain people, now we're collaborating and meeting and potentially working with them. I will give a little bit of a hint of one that is a future one. I'm really good friends with Danny Trejo, and Danny saw a book that I did last year with Wesley Snipes. I did The Exiled with Wesley Snipes and Adam Lawson, and it was a story that Adam and I had done years ago, and then Wes and I were collaborating on something. We brought Wes in, and we did a really successful Kickstarter and a book, and that was great. And I was directing Danny on the new Like a Dragon game last year. And Danny looks at my book and he said, I want to do a book with you. And so pitched him an idea and he loved it. And who knows, that might be our next one. But I love those types of friendships and relationships because, Danny didn't start his career until his 40s. Right. And it's amazing that you're never too young or too old to do something, right? It's just creative ideas and how you collaborate. So as to Chris's thing, sometimes, you have to be careful sometimes of meeting your heroes because sometimes you have an expectation of who you want to work with and what they represent. But at the same time, the fact that you get to collaborate in a day and age like right now, where we get to work with friends and people that we admire, is probably one of the best treats of what we get to do in our business.
And I know Jason Momoa has the part of Lobo, but gosh, 20 years ago, I would have loved to have seen Danny Trejo as Lobo on the big screen. But that man is a national treasure, regardless of what he's doing. He's still pumping out films and TV. It's amazing to see. So that would be absolutely incredible. As we wrap things up here, I don't want to keep you too much longer talking about Frost Road. You mentioned stretch goals and things like that. So are you wanting to get to a point? You're I think almost halfway to what your goal was. Where's the point where you guys are going to start saying, okay, we'll go ahead and think about adding another stretch goal for this? Are you going to wait till you're 3/4 of the way there, 7/8, or are you going to start tossing some out soon?
That's a good question. This is our first one, and we don't want to overpromise. If anything, we like to sort of underpromise and overdeliver. That's kind of been our motto throughout everything. My friend Jimmy Palmiotti, who was the one who really kind of first guided me on this, he was like, give them a mystery box, do something where they get something that's there and just make it worthwhile. And so we added in, like, beyond our audio drama, I took Jimmy's advice and we have some really neat mystery boxes that we're about to unveil. But beyond those, as I was mentioning, like, we really do want to give back to the community and build our community. We've met so many other great creators, people like Jimmy, who have done so many great Kickstarters, but there's so many people in this industry that are realizing that it's an amazing time for creatives to really interact and connect with their audiences. So as Chris was mentioning earlier, like our classes and our Q&As and our meetups and our panels that we're doing, our mentorship and our portfolio reviews, those are all rewards, but we're also wanting to unlock those as stretch goals because we feel that it's more of this collaboration and communication with the community than it is trying to lecture and be a professor and being like a know-it-all. We're only as good as our experiences and what we've learned and what we share and what we can bring back to each other. But the nice thing is that our community is so collaborative and supportive that we're hoping that with the experience and obviously with 700 productions under our belt, that we can kind of share some of that. And it's not to boast and it's not to kind of show off. It's more to say, like, hey, here's all the mistakes we made. And here are the things you don't want to do. And here are some of the things that, maybe worked. And this is some ideas. And fortunately, you see a lot of the pipelines and technology and methodologies that we've done that have made its way into the industry. So a lot of stuff, especially in video games, you see for productions and performance capture, a lot of that originated at PCB. And we were very honored that We got to work on those projects, but even more so now, we see that methodology going throughout the industry. So we're hoping that what we're doing right now with Kickstarter is that as much as for the fans, and we know and hope that people are going to enjoy the book and what we're doing, we really see this as kind of a baby step into this progression of building this community and adding other experiences and learning from this. And our next announcement, which will come at San Diego Comic-Con this July, I think is going to be a complete left turn. I think when people realize the scope and what we've learned just on this one campaign since February, but I think what you're going to see in the next one is going to completely turn everything on its end, and in a great way. So those are all the kind of fun things we want to give back to the community, and those stretch goals, I think you're going to see progress. And even if we don't make them, I mean, obviously we're looking for funding and distribution and printing on the book. So whether we get into all those classes or not, that's kind of something that we just want to give back regardless. But I do think that as we learn from this and learn from other creatives and from our community, that we're going to in turn make the next Kickstarter even stronger and more catered to our audience.
And if you're listening right now, again, you can just go to Kickstarter.com, search Frost Road. You'll be able to go right to it. You guys have the honor of getting that Projects We Love badge from Kickstarter as well, which is always helpful. It features you guys higher. If you're listening to this after the fact in the podcast version, scroll down to the bottom of the page, and in the show notes, we'll have a link directly to the Kickstarter. If people want to find out more about either the two of you or about PCB Entertainment in general, website, social media handles, where would you like to send people?
Everyone can find us at PCB Productions or PCB Entertainment on social media. And our two main websites are pcb.cc for all of our original projects and pcbproductions.com for our studio and video game projects. And Chris, I think we can share a couple more things maybe.
Oh, yeah. So for me, it's CYG47. That's my personal handle. But also one last thing, as we're kind of wrapping up, I want to make sure we say for the first 200 backers that we are giving away a specialty print, storyboard, and script excerpt of Keith. So basically, you get an exclusive print to kind of encapsulate the project, a hand-numbered storyboard from Trevor Goring, and a script that we're going away for the first 200 people, because we had a kind of a groundswell this past week and everyone like, oh my God, I loved it, but we missed the 48 hours. Are we still included? And so we're like, you know what? Fair's fair. We're going to lift up the 48 hours. And now people seem to be really excited about that. So we're trying to make sure we express that, in these kind of press interviews, things that we're doing, that we want to grow. We want to make sure everyone's included. And so once the 200 mark hits, it's done. We may add it in as like a small add-on, but it's one of those new things we wanted to discuss as well before we wrapped up.
Is that at any level, or is that hit at a certain tier for the?
So it's anyone who backs at a physical tier, because again, we're trying to give back to those who give back to us. And we're trying to make sure we're maximizing the shipping as much as we can. It wouldn't make sense to give it to digital. I mean, maybe we might do digital, but we can't promise that. So the whole thing is, if you buy a book or if you back a big tier, you'll have those things. So it's for the first 200 physical backers.
I guess I know what I'm doing. As soon as I hang up with the two of you right here, I'll be over the website. And again, if you're listening to it, it's please check out the project. Even if you're kind of like, well, I'm not sure, look at it, because just looking at it, the visuals alone are outstanding. When you put the story that Keith has come up with and all the work that this team has done, it's really a great project. I can see why Kickstarter gave it their badge of Project We Love, because it's really stunning, the haunting imaging, and just, I think, a compelling story. So check it out, Frost Road on Kickstarter. Keith Arem, Christopher Yates, thank you so much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Hey, thank you, James, so much for having us. We love being here, and we love supporting this community.
Anytime. Thank you.
There they go. Make sure you check it out. Like I said, by the time you're hearing this, it's probably in its final 48 hours. Get that push. Get them over the line. I would be appreciative. I know they would appreciate it as well. And you get the satisfaction of backing a really cool project. That's going to do it for this bonus episode of Geek to Me Radio. Hopefully you enjoyed it as much as I did. Just a reminder to check out the #2 Rivers ComicCon.com. Tickets are available now. We're going to have special events going on coming up pretty soon. They'll be on the website, so make sure you keep checking back. We've got a couple more guest announcements that are coming as well, so stay tuned. Follow us on Instagram, and make sure you follow us on Facebook as well. Twitter, also, Two Rivers Comic Con. Thank you to my show sponsors, Bugs Comics and Games, and the Greater St. Charles Convention and Visitors Bureau, discoverstcharles.com. Thank you to my executive producer, Joey V, for making the show sound and look as good as it does all the time. Wouldn't be doing this without him, especially going on, like I said, almost 9 years here. Thank you to all of you to listen, for listening, I should say. And until next week, my friends.
This is Geek to Me Radio. That's our show. This is Geek to Me Radio.
Thank you, Broadway. Good night.